So, remember this dude, Ryan Routh, that dude from the golf course who tried to end Trump? Well, he was found guilty in the attempt, obviously. And not only that, he apparently tried to stab himself in the neck with a pen after Florida jury found him guilty of attempting to assassinate Donald Trump last year on a golf course. Now, they'll try to hit you with, they'll try to, the left will be like, well, what do you have to say about this guy? Because he was apparently a former Trump supporter. Okay, come here real close, because I understand this is going to be hard to comprehend. He was a former Trump supporter, and then he tried to take out Trump. He engaged in fascism, actual fascism. Trying to silence a political, opponent. Guess what? He's a faggot. Those people you see on Twitter, with the Trump flags, with also the Nazi flags, guess what? They're faggots. If you try to use fascism and engage in fascism to silence your political opponent, you're a faggot. Doesn't matter what side you're on. See how easy that is? No excuses. No, not the dude. Ryan Routh, former Trump supporter, tried to take out Trump. He's a faggot. Glad we got that out of the way. The trial of Ryan Wesley Routh. Ronald Weasley, how dare you steal that car? Came to a dramatic end Tuesday when he tried to stab himself in the neck with a pen after the Florida jury found him guilty of attempting to assassinate Donald Trump last year on a golf course. Dad, don't hurt yourself, Ruth's daughter Sarah screamed at the bailiffs as the bailiff struggled to restrain Routh and rush him out of the courtroom. A short time later, Routh was returned to the courtroom to complete the proceedings. This time he was wearing handcuffs, but there was no blood visible on his white shirt, and he did not appear to have succeeded in harming himself. We love you, Dad, Ruth's son Adam said after he was escorted out of the courtroom again. Routh appeared to wink at his kids as he was being led away. It took the jury just 2.5 hours of deliberating to also find Routh guilty of assaulting the Secret Service agent who rousted him from his hiding place and guilty of 3 federal gun charges stemming from the September 15th incident, or September 15, 2024 incident. Routh, who had pleaded not guilty to all charges, faces life in prison when he is sentenced on December 18th. Trump called this verdict on his Truth Social a very big moment in justice for America. Very big. They did the right thing, the right choice. It's like, but sir, he was apparently a former Trump supporter, so political violence is okay, right? Nope, he's still a huge, big, blaming faggot. I don't care. I don't care. We have no room for people like him. Congratulations to Attorney General Pam Bondi, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, and the entire DOJ team on the conviction in Florida of the person who attempted an assassination on my life. The trial was meticulously handled, and I would like to thank the judge and jury for their time, professionalism, and patience. This was an evil man with an evil intention, and they caught him. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Actually, I think that what's his face, the dude who shot Charlie, I think that's how they did it. They actually came out where they were like, "Ladies and gentlemen, we got him." And I'm like, no, they did not just say that right now. They did not just say that. The U.S. District Judge Eileen Cannon presided over the trial. Trump appointed her to the bench, and she dismissed the charges against him after he was accused of mishandling classic documents at his home at Mar-a-Lago. Bondi called the attempted assassination an affront to our very nation itself. While you have some people on the left cheering this on, you have normal people and pretty much everyone on the right saying, yeah, this dude's a faggot. Again, see how easy this is? Condemning political violence on both sides, even when it's possibly one of your own. See how easy that is? I know. I know. Today's guilty verdict against would-be Trump assassin Ryan Routh illustrates the Department of Justice's commitment to punishing those who engage in political violence. The verdict came 2 days after Trump spoke at a memorial service for the popular but polarizing conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Yeah, who's we know. Routh, 59, a former Trump supporter, is a resident of Hawaii and originally from North Carolina. He is not a lawyer. So as a North Carolinian, we don't acknowledge this fucking faggot. But during the 2-week trial, Routh served as his own attorney. Like, what was his case here? That he was trying to do what he thought was the betterment of like, what? When you do this shit, why would you not want a fucking lawyer? And before the panel of 7 women and 5 men reached its verdict, he delivered a brief and disjointed closing argument, during which he tried to argue that there was no crime because he never fired a shot at Trump. So, you have your things all set up, but because you never fired the shot, you somehow can squeaky clean just walk away from it. There's still an attempt. There was still, intention. Oh no, I was just out here looking through the scope of my rifle for birds. I'm a bird watcher, you see. And the scope, it gets closer than any binoculars I know of. That's what I was doing, even though it's targeted directly at Trump. I was watching the birds, avid bird watcher. Great time of year to do it. September, fall starts to happen. Get all these beautiful birds out with their bright, vibrant colors. Bird watcher. Just 12 minutes into Ruth's monologue, Cannon interrupted him and scolded him for ignoring her order to stay within the bounds of the case, after he started complaining that he wasn't allowed to put more witnesses on the stand. With the jury out of earshot, Routh then asked Cannon whether the public defenders who initially represented him, Christy Militello and Renee Michelle Civola, could wrap up his closing argument if Cannon interrupted him again. Cannon said no. No. And when the jury returned, Routh argued that to merely have a weapon in the presence of another does not mean intent. No, but having it set up and pretty much lining up your shot does. But again, he was just an avid bird watcher. He wasn't there for any other reason than to just look at some birds. But after Routh brought up the January 6, 2021, of course, yeah, now he's a riot capital, and began talking about Ukraine, founding Father Patrick Henry, and the common man. Cannon put a halt to his argument. In total, he spoke for 42 minutes. But January 6th, yeah. So him being a former Trump supporter doesn't mean anything now, because he, like every other flaming lefty, he had to bring up January 6th. But January 6th. And talking about Ukraine, yes, because we know Trump supporters and their love of Ukraine. Slava Ukraini. You see that all the time with right wingers, in their profiles. They have the little Ukraine flag and Slava Ukraini in their bio. Yeah, it's just really big on the right. But again, assuming this guy was a former Trump supporter, either way, He tried to carry out an assassination because he didn't like Donald Trump. He's a faggot. Again, see how simple this is? Condemning it on both sides. It's not really hard. I don't know why it seems so. I don't know where we're getting lost in translation here. But no, 37% of the left says that political assassinations are okay. And then you have like 40 something percent saying, well, depends on who it is, which is staggering. Political, unless they are literally Hitler, which no, Donald Trump is not literally Hitler, despite what the fucking morons on the left say. He's not literally Hitler. In fact, the left is more like not the Nazis than anyone right now, but we don't want to acknowledge because they're using fascism to fight fascism. It's totally different when they do it. The government delivered its closing argument first, with prosecutor Christopher Brown telling the court that Routh had planned to kill Trump for a long, long time. For a long time. It is not every case where the defendant writes his intent down on a piece of paper. Yeah, this fucking faggot right here. Brown was referring to the note Routh wrote before he was arrested and left in a box at a friend's home in North Carolina. It was addressed to the world and stated plainly, this was an assassination attempt on Donald Trump. This is not a whodunit, Brown told jurors. Oh, we still got, okay. We're almost there. I was like, how much longer? I'm looking at this. I'm like, how far are we going here? Starting with the pretrial hearings, and throughout the trial, Cannon admonished Routh repeatedly for disrupting the proceedings and asking witnesses questions she deemed outside the scope. We're not bird watching here anymore. We don't have scopes in the courtroom. Outside the scope of the case or irrelevant. Routh was arrested after Secret Service agent Robert Fricano spotted him hiding in shrubbery near the fifth hole of Trump's International Golf Club in West Palm Beach, and according to prosecutors, waiting for Trump to get into his line of fire. So he was there. He had the gun staking out there until Trump came into sight. But oh no, the shot wasn't fired. You know, you're forgetting about intent. You're waiting for him. I'm guessing the what hole was the fifth hole? I'm guessing the fifth hole had better, where you could line things up better. But he's like, oh well, intent. Well, you were sitting there in the shrubs, sitting there looking through like a fucking faggot, waiting for Trump. It doesn't matter if you fire the shot. There was still intent. Routh asked Cannon at a hearing in July for permission to represent himself after he clashed with his court-appointed attorneys, saying they were a million miles apart. Cannon reluctantly agreed, calling it a bad idea, but she ordered the public defenders to stay in the courtroom on standby and order Routh not to approach the witnesses. Federal prosecutors called 38 witnesses over 7 days, placing Routh at the scene, and testified that he could have killed Trump had he not been caught. Routh called 3 witnesses and was done presenting his case before lunchtime Monday. So again, the dude's a faggot. Plain and simple. If you're on the left and you do this, if you're on the right and do this, it's not that hard. It's really not that hard. Political violence of any kind is wrong. Did I like Joe Biden? No. Did I like cackling Kamala Harris? No. Would I ever wish death upon them or cheer after if they were ever assassinated? No. Because it's wrong. See how easy that is? People trying to get like a gotcha moment, like, oh, well, I bet if on the right, if it'd be different. It was no. You're forgetting. We're the side who see those the Patriot Front. We're calling them faggots. You know, those guys walking around in fucking masks and khakis and all that. Anyone walking around with a Nazi flag, trying to hide it, you know, put it with a Trump flag. If they do that, guess what? They're faggots. See how easy that is? See how easy it is? Condoning that kind of stuff? It's not that hard. Left, it's really not. Anyway. Yeah, this fucking dumbass, have fun in jail, in prison. I hope you get made someone's girlfriend real fucking fast. Anyway, God, I'm thirsty. I don't know why I'm so fucking thirsty, but I know. Hilariously drinking from this. These tiny little lids. But good. Good. I hope him and every single person like him, regardless of political affiliation, ends up just like that, rotting in fucking jail. Again, see how easy this is? It doesn't take a lot to know that it's wrong on either side. It's really not. But then you have people on that side who try to justify political assassinations. And then you wonder why no one takes you seriously anymore. Anyway, that's going to do it for me. You guys know the drill. I'll see you guys later. Bye.